In 2008, a family friend invited some kids in my grade to his property in the Laurel Highlands. It was the first time I'd ever gone camping, and I was immediately hooked. I went back practically every year since, but the pandemic was threatening my chance this July, so I went alone. The Laurel Highlands is an area in southwestern Pennsylvania comprised of Fayette, Somerset, and Westmoreland counties, characterized by higher elevation, forest-rich mountain ridges and valleys, and many rivers and streams. Due to the high elevation, it is often wetter and cooler in the summers, and a thick fog blankets the mountains every night. It officially begins at the Chestnut Ridge summit, where the elevation rises from about 1,000 feet to nearly 3,000 feet. The summit is visible for miles around, particularly in Uniontown, where you must drive up Route 40 to reach the highlands. My plan was to camp in the town of Confluence for a couple nights and attempt to get a drone shot of our family friend's cabin, but this proved to be a very difficult task, as you'll see later. But upon arriving hungry at the Youghiogheny River outflow camping area, I decided to make a fire and cook dinner. Tonight, I'm starting a fire via this char cloth that I made from an old pair of jeans in an Altoids tin, and this handy-dandy paracord flint and steel necklace. So, new development, the guys back there saw that I had barely any firewood and they just gave me about 2 nights worth for free, so I'm gonna be able to cook. When I go camping, especially during a pandemic, I think it's important to put convenience over everything else. When it comes to food, I like to cook whatever perishables I have that first night. Usually it's meat or eggs. This is because the ice that I brought from home in the cooler is most likely to melt by the next morning. Looks like dinner to me. Feeling full and with the sun starting to set, I decided to convert my SUV into sleeping mode. I was planning to bike the Great Allegheny Passage tomorrow and I wanted to get enough rest. We gotta sort this out. The Great Allegheny Passage runs along the Youghiogheny River from Pittsburgh to Cumberland, Maryland. The area between Confluence and Ohiopyle is my personal favorite as it hugs the river and there are many beautiful spots to fish and swim. I got on the trail about 9 a.m. and started heading west towards Ohiopyle. So, some frequently asked questions. What bike do I have? It is a 1990 Trek 820. It's pretty good. I got some hybrid Panaracer tires on it. They are 26 inches by 1.5, so not great for off-roading, but it's perfect for this gravel trail that I'm on right now. I also have a Mavic Mini drone in my backpack, but I have to look up Ohiopyle State Park regulations to see if it's legal to fly it. I think it is. I think nobody's gonna care. Upon reaching Ohiopyle, it was clear that it was a ghost town, at least for the time being. There were about 5 people at one restaurant, but that was about it. And it's a good thing, don't get me wrong, it's just very odd to see it. The buses carrying people to the whitewater rafting entry points were filled, as they always are this time of year. After biking the trail, I really wanted some ice cream, so I headed into Somerset, but along the way I realized I was in for some bad weather. Got a massive thunderstorm on the horizon, and looks like it just went through Confluence, so my firewood is probably soaked. Please do not let there be hail. This is literally the second day of my solar panel. Small raindrops, that's a good sign. We got small raindrops. It's another giant sheath of rain. Okay, there we go. Best case scenario, my firewood is completely soaked. Worst case scenario, the campground is flooded and the Youghiogheny River Dam fills and we all die. So I'm totally fine with my firewood being wet. No! I honestly wonder if the rain fly worked. It's going to be interesting to see. After the rain ended, a thin fog descended upon the campground, so I went to have a look. The next day, I packed my things and headed to the top of the Youghiogheny Dam to get some shots of the town. The Youghiogheny Dam was built in 1944 and is maintained by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It features a small hydroelectric plant capable of powering 8,000 homes. The structure of Confluence is very interesting. Between the Castleman and Youghiogheny rivers is a few blocks of houses, a couple cafes, and some apartment complexes. On the east side of the river is the downtown square, a few churches, the food mart, several bed and breakfasts that I've stayed in, and more houses with spacious yards. It was at this point when I realized my drone wasn't coming back. The wind had picked up from the west and it was blowing away, so I got in my car, sped down the dam, running over my camera and tripod in the process and cracking the screen. You can actually see me in the trusty Tribute careening down 281 right here, trying to get downwind of the drone. And thankfully, I finally did. I found a parking lot for the old Confluence school and guided the drone down to land. After that close call, I decided to not fly the drone in strong winds ever again. Downtown Confluence is made up of several small hardware stores and food markets, as well as a service station, park, and bicycle shop. After saying goodbye to Confluence, I stopped to pick up more camp fuel for my stove and headed onwards towards the Monroe Run hiking trail in New Germany State Park. I was having a pretty bad pain in my hamstring, but I stretched it out and was feeling well enough to hike. We've reached close to the lowest elevation of the trail, still got a little bit to go. That was a pretty steep drop, so it's not going to be fun going back up, but this looks beautiful down here. Well, I'm a couple miles in and I think I'm going to turn around. It's about 2 o'clock and I want to get to the campsite tonight by around 6 and I still want to film Grantsville. So let's head back. So this last portion of the trail, we're ascending an elevation around 500 or 600 feet, I believe. Might be a little less than that. I didn't push myself too hard on the main trail because I knew that this was going to be the most difficult part, and it sucks. After my hike, I was very hungry and craving something sweet, because I always am, so I stopped at the Hilltop Fruit Market in Grantsville. Half of the store is just candy. I didn't film inside because I wanted to limit the amount of time I spent around other people. And then I headed to the Cheat Canyon Campground, my stop for the night. It's basically a large field sitting on the shore of the Cheat River, and I had the entire thing to myself. For dinner, I wanted something quick, so I had canned chicken pot pie soup, green beans, and canned tropical fruit, which is my new favorite thing to bring camping. In the morning, I woke up early and decided to head to Myersdale to pick up the Great Allegheny Passage where it heads down to Maryland. There were many beautiful bridges and a lot less river. In fact, it doesn't really follow any river on this part of the trail. Then I walked around downtown Myersdale to see what was happening. After a brief thunderstorm, I decided to head back to downtown Grantsville to film all the small shops. It's one of the better mountain towns I've come across, and being right next to Interstate 68 has helped it tremendously. You can actually see the Hilltop Fruit Market from the center of town, which is located a few miles away on an adjacent mountaintop. Hey Pizza is my all-time favorite pizza shop, but it being a Sunday, it was closed. I would have to stop by tomorrow on my way home. Back at the campground, I was fascinated by these little hovering bugs. I guess there used to be an old bridge here, but I have no idea what it was used for. The showers at Cheat Canyon were very interesting. It reminded me of a 1980s sports camp for high school boys. The showers were clean enough and coin operated. You placed 4 quarters in the slots and pushed it in like one of those sticker machines in the lobby of a Giant Eagle supermarket. The floor looked like a 2000s bowling alley, and I was a huge fan.
The wood dried out pretty well, and you probably can't see it, but I got my Hilltop Fruit Market chocolate-covered peanuts. I'm having a time. Why are they called double-dipped peanuts? That's the one thing I don't understand. There's a good silhouette of a double-dipped peanut. I guess maybe they have twice as much chocolate. Honestly, I kind of prefer the chocolate-covered peanuts that are smoother and have like a glossy appearance rather than these. But these are also really good.
I woke up at 5 the next morning and a dense fog had covered the mountain. This was bad news because today was my last chance to get a drone shot of the cabin. But having my entire trip based around this, I decided to head to High Point Lake anyways and was happy to see a break in the fog as I ascended in elevation. Unfortunately, High Point Lake was blanketed, but it was quite beautiful. I was the only one there for quite some time. A few hours later, I decided to fly the drone anyways, but unfortunately it was too foggy, I didn't feel comfortable, so I had to turn the drone back. Accepting failure, I decided to leave the mountain without getting the shot and head into Myersdale. But on a whim, I decided to return a couple hours later. It was windy, but maybe I could do it anyways. When I got back to High Point Lake, there was a break in the wind, so I immediately put the drone up, flew it to the west, and there it was. It felt really weird seeing the property and not being there for the first time in a decade. It also put the shape of the river valley and the highlands in general into perspective, and it's something that I've never seen before. After the successful flight, I stopped at Hey Pizza as a victory lap, and then I headed back home. This whole trip felt a little odd, it being my first camping trip alone and during a pandemic, but I'm glad I went. It's something I recommend everyone do at least once in their lifetime. I hope you guys enjoyed this camping video. It's something I love to do, so I'll try to make more films in the future. Be sure to subscribe, feel free to like, comment, and share, and visit my Etsy store if you want to see the Polaroids I took.